A very good evening. A very good evening to all. A very good evening to all. I hope I'm audible properly.
Yeah.
Yes. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries who are collected here.
Good evening, madam. Yeah, you are audible. Please proceed.
Yes, a very good evening to all of you who are gathered here, all the dignitaries and all the participants. There's a huge crowd of above 170 and it's increasing. So the entire credit goes to the eminent dignitaries and the panel members, the moderator, the inaugural address by our Vinay Sheel sir, and obviously the backbone behind this today's evening, Kurian sir, our National Vice President, as well as Nataraj Ray sir. I, Dr. Ranjita Banerjee from Vadodara. I'm also the Managing Committee member of Vadodara chapter, Associate Professor in MBA College. And with my 19.5 years of work experience over corporate and academics, I feel very fortunate to be part of this grand event today's evening to be the event coordinator for the same. And I'm very thankful to the ISTD veteran members to give me this opportunity wherein I am able to coordinate this as well as hear out from all the panelists of the day and take up the open forum session as well for the evening. We are gathered here in this event of campus, a panel discussion on campus to corporate, a very important thing because even being in academics for the last 14 years now, we feel always that there is a gap between academia and corporate. Somewhere maybe on the skilling part, on the employability part, and things like that. A lot of research has already been done in this particular area, and a lot needs to also be doing continuously. And ISTD, the Indian Society for Training and Development, has taken up this initiative to bridge this gap between campus and corporate by taking up this important panel discussion on campus to corporate and extending the help to the corporate as well as the students, as well as the faculty fraternity and the corporate fraternity through this initiative, ISTD helping people to grow Series 1. So this evening here, we are all gathered here for this purpose. I take the opportunity once again to welcome all of you in this grand evening. And I request Kurian Daniel sir, our National Vice President of ISTD, to please do the theme introduction to our August gathering.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjita. Good evening to one and all. Dr. Nataraj Ray, National President, President Emeritus, past presidents, and today's chief guest, Dr. Vinay Sheel Gautam, President Emeritus, Chairman Advisory Board, and Board Member Designate of IFSTDO. Eminent panelists, Sri Naresh Kumar Pinnisetti, Group President, Corporate Governance, Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited, Dr. C. Jayakumar, Executive Vice President and Head Corporate Human Resources, Larsen & Toubro Limited, Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor, ITM University, Raipur, Dr. Padmalita Rautre, Associate Professor and HOD in the Department of Business Management and member of Syndicate as Director, Student Welfare, Fakir Mohan University, and ISTD Balasur Chapter as Chairperson. Moderator, Dr. G.P. Rao, Founder, GPR HR Consulting LLP. Event Coordinator, Dr. Ranjita Banerjee, Associate Professor at CKSAV Institute of Management, Vadodara. All OB members, NC members, ISTD members, all participants, and our support team from NHQ. ISTD is revisiting our punchline. ISTD helping people to grow. ISTD is organizing various programs for the enrichment of the members and the society at large. All the programs are of relevant theme and useful for all generations. ISTD is having both academic institutions and corporate as our institutional members. Hence, it becomes our prime responsibility to act as bridge between institutions and corporate for better connectivity and output. We have learned from experience that most of the students who passed with engineering or MBA are not getting placement because they are not compatible with industry or corporate requirements. Hence, ISTD has decided to help academic institutions and corporates by designing and implementing customized training capsule approximately 30 to 50 hours duration. For a detailed study of the situation, we would like to conduct a series of panel discussion starting from today, involving experts from Management Institute, engineering colleges, and industries to shoulder with ISTD. Gist of the discussion shall be finalized to enable us to design various capsules under Canvas to Corporate. ISTD faculty will facilitate the same during their MBA or engineering final year with no additional cost to students or institutions. We will encourage the beneficiary corporates to sponsor this course through their CSR funding. We shall involve the concerned corporates in designing customized capsule too. ISTD will offer certificates for all participants, and list of successful students shall be forwarded to sponsored corporates. Corporates will be benefited in getting trained candidates ready to be on board. Let us discuss on this theme, which is the need of the hour. Wishing you all an active participation. Jai Hind. Over to Dr. Ranjita.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful theme introduction. I would now request Dr. Vinaysheel Gautam, sir, to please come over, and I would like to introduce him first. Dr. Vinaysheel Gautam, President Emeritus and Chairman Advisory Board, ISTT. He is the Director Designate IFTDO, former President ARTDO International, Chairman Steering Committee, the 49th IFTDO World Conference, FRAS from London. He's a fellow Royal Asiatic Society, UK, Association of Business Executives, UK, IMA, etc. He's the first head managing department of IIT Delhi, the founder director of IIM Kozhikode, a leader consulting team at IIM Shillong. He's also the first honorary dean of KPMG Academy, a senior managing director and principal economic advisor, Member Private Limited. He has represented India in the activities of UNESCO, Asian Productivity Organization, as well as International Economic Forum, to mention a few. He's a recipient of several recognition, including 7 Lifetime Achievement Awards. He's the best. He also received the Best Book Award as well, and he has facilitated management development activities across the world, including Germany, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, just to name a few, including USA. We are very, 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 very proud to have Sir with us and to hear from you this evening. I would request Dr. Vinaysheel Gautam, sir, to please give and deliver the inaugural address. Thank you.
Thank you for a very generous and friendly introduction. It sounds good listening to it. I was wondering where to dip into my experience and what to pull out, because if you began your career in 1968, which is what I did in St. Stephen's College, you have over 5 decades to look back on, and there is just about every kind of experience appropriate to every theme in which you are supposed to speak. The secret is I don't choose to speak on any topic on which I don't have a personal first-hand experience. So here I am talking on from campus to corporate, and I had 2 close encounters during my career in seeing, observing, guiding this transition. One was when I was heading one of the country's most prestigious programs of management trainees, which was when I was head of the DCM Engineering and Electronics Division Training Center. And the other was when I founded some of the activities of the KPMG Academy, and we had several such experiences. The canvas is large. It's the attempt to select would be a trying one. Therefore, let me pick out episodes which draw my recall and attention. I was in Bombay recruiting for DCM Engineering and Electronics Division Management trainee program. And I have the permission of the person to quote her because she became my teacher, as it were, during her internship. And I was relatively young and I was trying to get her to speak on what is the gender difference if you get recruited by an engineering corporation for a management training program. And she was saying there is a difference between men and women. And I was saying, if there is such a difference, then why do you want parity? And the conversation was going on predictable lines. So I asked her a question, and forgive me for being graphic, because as I said, I have the permission of the person to say this, and how wise the management trainee potential can be like, and what is the experience on dealing with them, because the purpose is to show never underestimate their intelligence or experience. I kept saying, if you can't do everything which a man does, why would you want equal pay? And she said, for the simple reason that I will not travel alone no matter what pressure you apply, because if I'm traveling alone at night, I feel vulnerable. So my colleague said, and what is there to feel vulnerable? And she turned around and said, for the simple reason, sir, since you are pushing me to it, I can get raped. A male trainee will not get raped. And there was pin drop silence. One could even pick up a pin. We selected her. And today she is the CEO of a major multinational organization. And I have never failed to recall her wisdom in getting to the point, even if it be a little bit embarrassing to talk about publicly, because that's the kind of stuff which we are now having of those who move from campus to the corporate world. So there has been a change in the composition of the group which is undergoing this transition. And if we think the transition from the campus to the corporate world in 2022 is going to be the same as it was, say, in 2002, that is 2002, it's not the same. And everyone has moved on in age, but the age typologies remain the same. Therefore, my second submission, if you look at the transition, please realize life's different stages are full of transition. You undergo a transition when you enter the teenage. You undergo a transition when you move from teenage to adult, to full-fledged adult status. You undergo a transition when you move over from the early adult stages to mid-career stages, and there is a popular reference to mid-career blues. But the tragic difference is when you move over from a mature career stage, say around 60, 65, you name it, it varies from organization to organization, to a post-operational phase, to a retirement phase. And then you realize that nobody really, from the government to the people around you, look at you in the best of times other than with sympathy, and in the worst of times with benevolent neglect. Now, there is much which can be said about this transition. I don't have the time to get into it, but I'll stick to the aspect campus to corporate. Therefore, I see two types of changes in life spans and careers. One is the biological change, and the other is the status change. The movement from campus to corporate is a status change, and I think it is something which hits both the parties in that engagement equally. If you are passing through that transition, you have to recognize that you are no longer the big dad. You are on the campus by being the senior most amongst the students, but you are probably at the bottom of the heap if it were to be seen in a hierarchy. And there are people above you who look at you with some benevolence at the best, and as somebody who needs a lot of orientation when the outlook is not so good. Now that works both ways, because I have noticed resentment on the new recruits in the corporate world about their seniors, which at times they are able to hide, and others they are not able to hide. And they're in a terrible hurry. They want to make the grade sooner than later. When I joined the academia, I was 22. And at that stage, my life dream was to be a professor. I was one of the youngest professors in the entire IIT scheme of things across all the IITs. That's another story. But it didn't occur to me that I got there essentially because my senior colleagues were holding the ladder. They were encouraging me to go forward. In the world which I have experienced, and if I have the odd experience, you'll forgive me for it, Now the number of people who help is equal to the number of people who are disabled. So a constructive interest in each other's growth is not as intense as I saw it 20 years ago. I may be totally wrong, but how can I do better than to table my research, experience, and insights for consideration of others? Therefore, the transition from campus to corporates is a phase which has to be handled carefully, not by just the people who undergo this change, but also by people who handle this change. Which is why in KPMG, we instituted a mechanism of regular consultations amongst the facilitators of training, which was not always based in the classroom, but where there would be learning exchanges of people who are facilitating the change, who would distill what they had learned in interacting with the newcomers. Because those of us who have had first-hand experience of the consulting world, and as I was introduced, I was a senior managing director and principal economic advisor to Protiviti, a global consulting firm in the audit area. The turnover is so large that the movement from one entity to another is faster than even what the return on investment in the training is like. Therefore, it is not just a psychological issue. It is a generational issue. It is an institution building issue. And I have just added to the kitty the financial concerns of recruitment and not being able to have the best advantage of it in terms of return on that investment. Though I must table another parallel experience in DCM Engineering and Electronics Division, which I just quoted. We noticed that we were having a very high turnover, and several of them would leave even after a lot of empathy and some persuasion sooner than a year. And this was very disturbing. I took it up with Dr. Vinay Bharatram, who was then the executive director of the enterprise, and he didn't seem very bothered about it. And I quote him in saying this. He said, Vinay, why are you so bothered? We have trained people. It is a contribution to nation building. If they're not working in DCM, they're working in another Indian enterprise. Those days, and I'm talking of 70, 71, 72, it was not so fashionable to go abroad, whether it was from the government point of view or the corporate opportunities. They are still a part of the corporate entities in India. Let's not worry about them. Let's continue to do what we do, because obviously we have a brand name, and that brand name is that we have perhaps this country's best management training program. Now I see a world of difference between the attitude of Dr. Vinay Bharatram and what I see today in several of the colleagues. So I hereby make my fourth submission. The way of looking at this whole process issue has undergone a change. I'm conscious of the time allotted to me because I did check with Daniel, who has put in a lot of effort in piecing together this program and getting a figure of over 200 in attendance, which is not something which I find very often. One of the ways of moving forward is to recognize that you either move forward together or you don't move forward at all. So the message which I get is everything doesn't have to be said on every occasion. If you can table your experience and if you can talk of some of the key points you want to touch in a disciplined manner, 10 minutes means 10 minutes, and I was told 10 minutes. It may be fashionable to be bindas, but also being disciplined is as old as the rivers. Respect for each other, ability to get along with each other, ability to see different vantage points of perceptions which come from life, and above all, disagreeing in an agreeable way and making sure if they don't want you to give any nonsense in your behavioral approach, they should be equally restrained in giving you nonsense in their behavioral approach. It's not tit for tat, but an ability to face all vicissitudes of life. I have seen this as an ingrained question which worries people who move from the campus to the corporate. And if a collection like this, if a group of people like the ones collected here can throw some light on it, I think we would have institutionalized the process which ISTD is trying to institutionalize through this process of conducting a series of these programs. I'm grateful to Dr. Nataraj. I'm grateful to the colleagues in ISTD. I'm grateful to the leaders of the society who are here from all parts of the country to have given me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vinay sir, for this wonderful inaugural address. Thanks a lot for pitching up the thing for today's evening. Now I would take the opportunity to introduce all our eminent panelists and moderator for the day. We have with us Shri Naresh Kumar Pinisetti. He's the Group President, Corporate Governance, Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited. He has rich experience of over 34 years in different facets of HRD and IR, and has moved from an employee relations role to a corporate role over these 34 years. His postgraduate is in HRM, and he's Executive MBA from Copenhagen Business School, Denmark. He's an MA in Sociology and Bachelor of Law, Andhra University, a certified coach, and a Hogan graduate. He has extensive exposure as Group President, Human Resources with Deepak Fertilizers before being Group President of Corporate Governance. His previous experiences includes being Director and Regional Head of HR with Vestas for Asia Pacific region, General Manager HR for the Bayer Group in India. His core competencies are in leadership, development, organizational transformation, change management, people management as in mergers and acquisitions, to just name a few. A visiting faculty to many reputed and elite management institutes of India, and he's conferred with the honor of being among the 100 most talented HR leaders across the globe now. Our next panelist is Dr. C. Jayakumar, Executive Vice President and Head Corporate Human Resources, Larsen & Toubro Limited. He's a highly result-oriented HR professional with 33 years of experience in successfully planning, designing, implementing, managing various strategic HR initiatives. He has been the head of HR for various independent companies and JVs for the L&T Group across these years. He's a doctorate in the area of leadership from University of Madras and bearing 3 master's degree, great sir, in economics, labor studies, and human resource management, and earned a degree in LLB. He's a certified OD from NTL Institute of Advanced Behavioral Sciences, USA. He presides on the board of various professional bodies, AHRD, IMA, to name a few. He has earned national and international certifications and accreditations in psychometric as well as behavioral sciences domain. We are very honored to have Pinisetti sir and Jayakumar sir with us as panelists today evening. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation. Our third panelist for the evening is Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor, ITM University, Raipur. His previous experiences include working in senior leadership positions in renowned universities like Amity, Chandigarh University, and the ITS Education Group. He has been honored with various accolades like Best Academician Director by India Today, the Excellence and Innovation in Engineering Education by Business World, Top 50 Distinct Educators in Higher Education Across India by ELITS Chennai, Iconic Leader in Higher Education by AKS Education Awards, the Lifetime Achievement Award for Education Excellence by IEDRA, and he has published 2 patents, 3 books, 3 award-winning case studies, to just name a few, and over 30 research papers, and has positively impacted the career of about 5,000 students directly in his classrooms across these years. A very good evening and welcome to you, sir. We are very happy you are here with us this evening. And we have our 4th panelist, Dr. Padmalata Rautre, Associate Professor and HOD, Department of Business Management, Member of Syndicate as Director, Student Welfare, the Fakir Mohan University. Madam is a resource person for training programs to senior scientists of DRDO, PHC, and ITR Chandipur, besides other organizations of national repute. In the career span of over 20 years, she has guided about 6 PhD students and 9 MPhil students. She has presented more than 40 research papers in international and national seminars, and published about 72 research publications in national and international journals or as chapters in the book, and authored 5 books. She has successfully completed a research project with DRDO on effectiveness of training and competency mapping. That's really great, ma'am. And presently, she is leading ISTD Balasore chapter as chairperson also. She is the recipient of Shyam Bandhu Misra Gold Medal for HR Excellence from NIPM Utkal chapter in 2015-16. We are very honored to have with you, ma'am, this evening. Thank you so much. And we have our moderator for the day, Dr. G.P. Rao, who is the founder of GPR HR Consulting LLP. He's engaged into business coaching, workplace synergy facilitation, strategic people advisory, tech-driven L&D, as well as an inspirational speaker. His prior corporate experience includes over 37 years of rich expertise in the field of HR and general management with SAIL, JK, Birlas, and Reliance Industries, the industry tycoons. He is a master's in commerce, public administration, social work, and business management, and certification in assessment tools of MBTL, OPQ, SHL, and HumanEdge. He's an honorary PhD in management and also bears a degree in law. He's an outstanding contribution award from National HRD Network. He got this award, and HR Professional of the Year award, and HR Leadership Excellence Award at Singapore, Achievers Award at Colombo and in New Delhi, and got facilitated at the Silver Jubilee Conference of NHRDN. So right from our panelists to moderator, we have an excellent group of dignitaries to discuss here in this panel discussion today. And I now invite Dr. G.P. Rao, sir, who is the moderator for the evening, to please take over from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajita, respected Dr. Vineshil Gautam, Dr. Nataraj Ray, Mr. Korean National Vice President of ISTD, esteemed panelists. I see very senior people like Dr. T.V. Rao in the audience, leaders from the industry, leaders from the societies, and dear friends. Actually, I'm supposed to set a contest, but after a heavy rain, we should not venture to water the garden. No, we should not do it. We have the contest set by Dr. Vineshil Gautam. Wonderful. He has talked about what is the need, what should we do, who are people responsible, how do we integrate the efforts. The contest is set. So probably I will skip the contest part and tell you what is the process that we will follow. We have wonderful 4 panelists, okay? 2 from the industry, 2 from the academia. Okay, Dr. Jay Kumar and Naresh Pinisetti representing industry, Dr. Vikas Singh and Dr. Rautrai recording the academia. Now, the issue is in our country, as Dr. Kurian said, ISTD has started this whole initiative of building a campus to corporate transition. The peculiarity in our country is we have thousands and thousands of graduates coming out every year, and some of them are not getting employed, or some of them are getting employed, but they are underemployed. Now, on the other hand, you go to the industry, consulting world, you ask them, they said, we are not getting the right people. I'm only limiting my remarks to the engineering graduates and the management graduates. So what is the issue? Is it the fitment issue? Is the preparation issue? Is there a gap in understanding the needs issue? Or is it a transition issue? What is the issue? So probably we'll get into that. The format that we'll follow is, we have 4 tracks. In each track, one of our leaders, one of our panelists will lead, and others will value add or just top it up. That's how we do it. We'll start with, is there something different happening in the industry that our students are not getting absorbed, or they are not able to fit in? What are the significant changes happening in the corporate? Are there any significant changes, Dr. Jaykumar? I would request you to lead the discussion on this. You would unmute, Dr. Jaykumar.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. GPR for inviting me for this panel. My co-panelists, Dr. Vinay Sheel, participants, ladies and gentlemen, nice to be here. Campus to corporate is a life-changing transformation, right? According to Lawrence Bassidy, the ex-CEO of GE, said, nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing people. At the end of the day, we bet on people and not on strategies, right? You have heard this. Today, it's a war for talent. Every organization is fighting to get the best of the best talent. So in L&T, we focus largely on young talent that is from the campus. We train them, we hire them from campus, we train them, we groom them, we mold them, we make them great engineers, and then we make them do projects that make India proud, right? In the game of campus, there are three major stakeholders. One is the student, another is the educational institutions of the academia, and the third is the corporates, right? So each one is going through a certain set of challenges. When you look at the students, from the student's perspective, from the student's lens, when I see, it is the employability. There are 15 lakh students coming out every year. According to India Skill Report, it says only 46% of them are employable. In spite of students taking special initiatives to enroll themselves for internships, webinars, certification courses, a lot of things the bright students do on their own, but still there is a gap and there's scope for improvement. Now coming to the other side of academia, the challenge for the academia is, forget about the IITs and NITs, most of the engineering colleges and MBA colleges which have started, getting the faculty with domain practical exposure. Okay, most of the time they do not have the actual on-the-ground exposure which can be taught to the students to become them employable. Some of the institutes even find challenge in terms of infrastructure or the lab facility, etc. And finally land up in the poor placement. Coming to the third area of when the employer, it is availability of employable talent. I need people for a particular job, but they are not employable. So we have to go in the fourth year, and some of the corporates are trying to collaborate with the institutions and give the required type of syllabus to be taught in the final year. Or after you recruit them, we have an LDA and the CTA, Mysore, like that training center, where we put them to a 6-month, very detailed orientation program, induction program in various ways, which is required for our type of a requirement. So one way of addressing the challenges, only way is the collaboration between the academia and the corporates.
Okay. Dr. Jayakumar, yeah. I want to go a bit slow. Yeah. It's a very serious thing. You have very nicely shared your experiences, your perspective from L&T. You are an industry leader. We want to know, before I invite Dr. Vikas Singh and Dr. Rautrai, we want to know from you, what are the significant changes in your needs? Are there any changing needs from the corporate? What do you want?
Sir, first of all, the total workplace and workforce is getting changed because of the double disruption. One is the technology is coming into place. Another is because of the pandemic. So certain set of skills are required. In fact, today, first and foremost, when I look at the student is the learning agility.
Okay.
And digital mindset. Okay. If things are changing so fast, can a person look at learn, skill, reskill, and train according to the changing environment. Even the World Economic Forum report says that critical thinking, analytics, problem solving, self-development, listening, these have become the very, very critical skills. Whether how this can be taught in an educational institution, how it can be developed within a student is the...
Very well. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Our esteemed panelist, Naresh Pinisetti, is also from the industry with a long experience. Do you want to top up something, Mr. Pinisetti? Anything from the corporate? What is the change from your point of view? What needs you have?
Yeah, thanks, GP Garu. See, what basically today organizations like us are looking at is there's a lot of digitalization going in the organizations. Everything is, we are talking about the machine learning, artificial intelligence. So what is happening was when we are actually onboarding people from the colleges, they absolutely have no knowledge about these things. People like us, we are all old horses. We don't know, we are being taught in the organization, but we expect these people to come with that knowledge. Maybe the universities and colleges should look at making them understand these aspects even before they leave the college. So this is one. And the second thing I think I wanted to cover in terms of, say, for example, the ability to communicate well. So, this is something.
Digitalization and ability to communicate. Okay, right. Thank you. So I will go to Dr. Vikash. So from academia, you have worked in different business schools. You network with your engineering colleges and the business schools. What is that you are doing? If you know that these are the changing needs in the industry and which have been validated by both Dr. Jayakumar and Mr. Naresh Pinsetti, what are you doing, Mr. Vikash? How academy is preparing for it?
Thank you, Rao sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. India is a very third largest higher education system. We have 1,000 plus universities. We have 50,000 higher education institutions, 25 lakh teachers, and around 2.5 crore students are there in higher education in India today. There are two parts of this, issue, I would say. As on today, more than 50 CEOs in global MNCs are product of this Indian higher education system. A very few days back, VMware had Indian student as the, CEO. And they are not all graduates from IITs. They might have done some other programs from other premium institutions, but not all graduates, engineering graduates from IITs. Why I'm sharing this? I'm sharing this that I'm in agreement with what, Jayakumar sir is saying. In my engineering days, I learned a language, Fortran. But today, we are not using Fortran anywhere. So I think ability to learn and motivating students, there are basically four things, Rao sir, with which I believe the selection process, is governed. One is, of course, the academic knowledge. Then comes the skill set. Then comes behavior and attitude. In half an hour kind of interview, it is difficult for a company like L&T or a company like Deepak Fertilizers to understand or to learn in depth, about the knowledge and the skill part, because it's kind of, group discussion, technical round. So basically what I have seen, because fortunately I worked in those institutions where quantity and quality of students both was great. And that is why we were attracting the best, companies from the country to come and conduct the drives. So of course, quantity and quality both is important, only then the good companies would come. Now, why I'm sharing this? I'm sharing this because talking to those, campus recruiters or the HR team, which were coming from, those large corporations, they were more interested in communication skills, like digital mindset, which has been, set right by Naresh sir as well. They were interested in the people skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills. Now, as an institution, we have very limited time at our disposal because academic knowledge is also important. Those theory sessions, cannot be curtailed beyond a certain extent. Because if you are claiming to be an engineer, it means you have some mathematical aptitude, you have some skill sets in various directions. Also, those practical labs can also not be avoided altogether. So institutions are putting in efforts in the direction of improving the interpersonal skills, improving the personal skills, improving the strategic leadership skills, negotiation skills. We have all those capsules, designed, but still the learnability of a student is in my batch, there would be students, cracking 25 lakh job, 30 lakh job, 35 lakh job. And there will be students who would be joining good company and coming back to us in 4 weeks time that they are not liking the company that they have joined. They are not liking the role that they have joined. So You know, when I'll be answering the question about academic contribution, I'll be touching more about this. But this is my initial, contribution.
Mr. Rao, if you allow me,
sir,
I will table two very quick experiences to show that innovative methods of identifying skills and talent in potential trainees is nothing new. In 1975, there was Mr. Kripalani selecting for DCM Toyota, who wouldn't recruit an engineer trainee without watching him in the shop floor for at least a week. There were other ways of identifying skills of the management training. You would not recruit them unless you saw their operational skills. They cannot be assessed at the entry point like you would discuss the recruitment of a corporate chief. You have to recognize that they must show aptitude to do things at an operational level, then they would graduate to higher levels. So maybe we need to keep in mind these distinctions.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the input. Before I go to Dr. Rautrai, I want to tell both Jayakumar and Naresh Pinisetti, please focus on what Dr. Vikas Singh said. It's fine, sir. We will give you digitalization, we'll give you communication, we'll give you behavioral. But then we have also to prepare them as good engineers. We also to prepare them good managers. We can't neglect that. So I see some gap in understanding. I would request ISTD to organize more such workshops to industry academia. Is it that we only do behavioral skills and forget the engineering skills? That is because a problem. So you must clarify, no, it is engineering plus. It is management plus. So that's what probably will solve the problem. Dr. Rautrai, we are still at what is academia doing? If you know that this is what the corporate world wants, what are you doing in the academia to meet their needs? Dr. Rautrai?
Yes.
Padmalita?
Thank you, sir. I'm very fortunate to be as a panel member where Dr. Vinayshil Gautam sir is there. I'm a tremendous fan of Dr. Vinayshil Gautam. I follow him from my research scholar days. So for my knowledge goes, I have interacted with students from different disciplines. Basically, we are general university, and we are dealing with students directly in the postgraduate level, and 2 professional courses are there, MBA and MCA. Besides that, we have other not directly professional courses, but very relevant for the university, from industry, like biotechnology, environment science, geology, like that.
Okay.
What I found from the students who are coming from tier 2 or tier 3 town, the profile of the students is very, very heterogeneous. Okay. We are not getting homogeneous students like we are getting in big IITs or IIMs. We almost get homogeneous students. The students are more or less, their learning capacity, intention to learn, all are more or less same. So you can have a program which is similar for all students. But for tier 2 and tier 3 institutes, we have a very, very heterogeneous students. Very bright students to very average or below average students. So we have
what are you doing? What are you doing from the industry, from the academia?
What we are doing, we are profiling, we're creating a profile of the students.
Okay.
Who are like a slow learner, we treat them in a different way. Fast learner, we just suggest them to go and do something better, have some add-on courses through the MOOC platform, interact with the industry personnel more often, give them very good dissertation projects so they can directly work in the industry like that.
Okay.
And another thing what we are doing is that also inviting the industry experts very frequently who can share our curriculum. At the end of one unit, we can invite one expert who can directly bridge the gap between what we are giving them theoretically, what is required in the industry, and what skill sets the students require. So we are creating a really day-to-day engagement system for the students. That in that way we are handling.
Great. Thank you so much. So now we got a flavor of what academia is doing, preparing. So C has the problem of heterogeneity. In fact, I will welcome that. In the corporate, we do not want homogeneous people. We want diverse people. because we have diverse skill requirements. You don't worry. So probably that is our norm. That is our country. We'll have different kinds of people. And I just want to, my piece of view is you should be happy taking different people and groom them. So that is the reality in life. In the reality also, we'll have different kinds of people wherever we go. But good you people are taking very good steps. Before we go to the last stage, that industry academia interface, can we do some kind of collation of what are the competencies that will give edge to an engineering student, MBA student? We said one is the CGPA, I mean the marks that is, or his curricular activities like sports and all. On this behavioral part, what will give them the edge? Like I asked somebody, he said contextual sensitivity. I said, no, tell me in simple words. So simple words, what are the edge-giving competencies, one versus the other? That will give you, he will get selected, he will do better. I'll ask Naresh Pinisetti ji to lead it, and everybody should contribute. Let us make a list of edge-giving competencies. Naresh.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, when we hire youngsters from campuses, what do we look at? What is that we are looking at? We want people who bring in fresh ideas. They should come with a creative mindset. And these people should be ready to take over leadership roles over a period of time. This is what we look at. So how do we test these things, and what is that the students should do? So like Dr. Vikas Singh is saying, you don't have to create a syllabus for teaching all these things. I think it should be intertwined into the day-to-day activities in the university or college where they are studying. So the first thing, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Vineshil Gautam, the ability to learn fast. So you may ask me, how do students pick it up? There are many aspects. This is actually called as the ability to solve problems in a novel way. You call it fluid intelligence. How can one hone their fluid intelligence? If I'll give some tips to the students also who are on this webinar, they can start practicing a test called NBAC test. I will type it in the chat box once I stop speaking, and this is available on internet. So let them start working on this NBAC test, prepare for this over a period of time, and their ability to actually solve problems faster, learn faster, will certainly improve over a period of time. And I think this is what universities and colleges should insist on. The second thing is basically thinking fresh. So people like us, we are having a baggage in an organization. We think this has to be done in this way only. So how do people come with this kind of a thinking fresh, basically working on riddles, puzzles, and maybe some of these games also today they are available. And as I've already told you, good communication skills that can easily, the universities can teach them by asking them to make presentations, do some kind of a mock, I would say, programs like discussions and all. And the most important one which organizations look at is adaptability, because the students are actually in a very, very protected environment. The professors look at how do we build their learning agility, how do we improve their knowledge. But then when you go to an organization, it's a place where there is a lot of volatility and uncertainty. So how adaptable are these youngsters to different situations like unplanned work schedules, working late to complete assignments, unscheduled travel all of a sudden, then you go to some godforsaken place and work like L&T if you are there. I've been to their L&T Learning Center outside of Mumbai. So people should be ready to go and work in these sites. No, everybody want to sit in an air-conditioned room and work. This is not going to happen. That is why maybe manufacturing industry is losing out in India. Nobody would like to dirty their hands. This is one important thing. And also the ability to work with people from different ethnicities, different languages, different belief systems. This is very important. I've been studying in all the time in Mumbai, and then I say Jai Maharashtra, and I go to Delhi. I find everything is very different there, and I try to gang up with the people from my place. These are all some of the things which are very important.
Wonderful.
And the next one I would like to talk about is self-awareness. I will give one more tip here. The University of Cambridge came out with a wonderful tool. I think students on this can Google www.applymagicsauce.com.
Okay.
What is this tool? This tool actually provides an insight into the personality of the individual.
Okay.
If some of the students are having Facebook and Twitter accounts, they can actually download that account into this magicsauce.com. It will give out a report of the personality of the individual.
Right. So
the students don't know about themselves.
Okay.
This is something. And then the last one I would like to talk about is the team and interpersonal skills. How do they work in team? How do they collaborate together?
Right, sir.
These are some of the things.
Thank you. No, wonderful points. Wonderful point. Fresh thinking, inclusiveness, adaptability, self-awareness, and team. Dr. Jayakumar, because you're from the industry, if you can tell what competencies will give edge, then Vikash will fine-tune. Dr. Rautrai will look at that. Dr. Jayakumar, any other competency?
Sir, let me keep it simple. Whatever we talked about, whether it is communication, executive presence, team working, interpersonal, these are all hygiene today.
Oh.
That is required. Without that, you will not get employment. What is more? What is the game changer? What is the differentiator?
Yeah, game changer.
Application of knowledge. Can I talk about how I apply an engineering in the field? How I apply theory in the field? Okay. So in fact, in an organization like us has come forward, we say we are a builders to the nation. I didn't want to market my product. We have come up with called EduTech. 80 years of wisdom of L&T has been converted into civil, mechanical, electrical courses, and it is being given to the students. So we have launched very recently. So it is a practical, application-oriented programs in all the disciplines which has been done. So industries are also coming forward to do this type of a thing.
I liked your proposition. Don't discuss communication included their hygiene. Let us talk about edge-giving competency, digitalization, application of knowledge. Now I agree. Initially I was avoiding that jargon, contextual sensitivity. What you know, can you put it in practice? Yeah. That's what you are wonderful. Now over to Vikash. We got a taste. This is what they are all hygiene. They want this digitalization and contextual sensitivity. The learning agility. These are the kind of things. And
that is, that is absolutely true. And what Nareshji said, protected environment. I'll add on to that. Protected environment is not only by professors, it is also by parents. Why I'm saying this, there is a significant change in the context also. And what we are doing, we are following a practice, GP sir, which I would share very quickly, because this can be kind of a tool with which other institutions can also apply. We call it individual career plan. The purpose is the individual student right in the second semester of the program. It's a 4-year program. It may be a 5-year program. It may be a 3-year program. Right in the second semester, we constitute a small team which has one person from training, one person from placement, one person from the concerned domain academic department. And they have individual one-to-one discussion, and they offer, what Naresh sir mentioned, they offer job roles to the, like you are doing computer science engineering, you are doing civil engineering, you are doing mechanical engineering. What kind of role you are more focused at? And or what is your personality trait? Are you extrovert? Are you introvert? What Rautrai madam said, are you from a very good English speaking school, or are you from a Hindi or vernacular language school? The purpose is we try to assess the job role that you are opting for, your present skills. What is the gap there in between these two things? And on the basis of that, then the entire career plan is designed in the institution by that mentoring team. And what happens there? The desired role and desired location. Some people from Chhattisgarh, people from Odisha might not feel that comfortable in Pune, or what Naresh also mentioned in Bangalore. So we've tried to find out the desired job role and desired job location. Now, these two are the part of the inputs, into the solution of the problem. Okay. And then on the basis of that, we design the entire campus to corporate program. And what it includes, what kind of industries you are going to visit, where you are going to have your internship program, what kind of networking you are going to require, what kind of MOOCs program, whether from EDX or from Coursera or from NPTEL, all those programs, all those extra efforts, all the, like if you are looking for a sales or retail job, there'll be more focus on communication skills. If you're looking for a data role, more focus would be on statistical and mathematical aptitude. So for individual person, we try to create a program. And I tell you, GP sir, this has been wonderfully successful.
You call it ICP, no? You call it ICP.
ICP, individual career plan. So for every individual, for every student, there is a career plan, and all the additional ingredients other than the academic program are designed on the chosen job role and chosen job location. The networking efforts, the LinkedIn profile, everything is in tune with that desired job role and desired location. And that has actually brought wonderful results to the institution here.
Oh, wonderful.
Mr. Rao, if you allow me, I would like to put in 3 additional concerns, one of them partly repetitive. We should also be focusing on the learning capacities of the facilitators.
Okay.
True.
My second submission is their ability to discover, because I have experimented, and there were public sector enterprises which have done too. They create a 3-day module or a 7-day module where they go out into villages, unknown territories to discover and find out for themselves lifestyles, which become very useful in subsequent marketing training. And the third effort is to bridge the gap between experiential perception and the ability to conceptualize. I would just leave it there because I don't want to take over the discussion, but these are 3 areas
very useful.
added.
Very useful. One debate I want to put it at rest. One of the participants had written to me personally. So did you mean that the hygiene ones are no more? No. What we've said is, no, I am clarifying to that young boy. He wrote to me personally. I said, I want to clarify to you is what we are saying is, whatever you have learned in engineering, whatever you learned in management, we want to know whether you can put that into practice. We want to see. Second is, are you digital? Are you on a dashboard? So that is one. What Naresh is talking about is, end of the day, the CGPA is same. The curriculum is same because the people are more or less same. They talk, the S will give on the behavioral, how self-aware you are, how inclusive you are, how quickly you are resilient, adaptable you are. Can you bring fresh perspectives? That is one. What Dr. Gautam has said is, it's not only the students, the facilitators. That role is very important. Conceptualization, that's very important. So this is a whole thing. It's not just grooming 4 students and getting them 5 jobs. No, this is beyond that because we're creating the nation. We're talking about nation building, creating the future. That's what it is. So Dr. Rautrai, you have to help me in facilitating the next part of it is, because everybody is watching us. They want to know what is that industry and academia together can do. Or do you want anyone else here? Like you want government, you want skill development centers, you want consulting world? I don't know. Because the topic they said industry, campus to corporate. I am saying industry, academia, but then we can broaden that. What are your thoughts on building that collaboration so that the gap between the students and the corporate need will come down and the challenges will get checked? Because the students ask him, they said, sir, the very problem, now we go to the corporate, the markets are dicey, the employees are pricey, the customers are moody, the investors are ruddy, the laws are tough, the nature is tough, rough. So they said, so you ask the corporate, they say, now the young students who come, they are very aspirational. They are restless. They have no loyalty. They want immediate benefit. No, they are saying. So all that we have to sort, not only matching the need, we have to also mitigate these challenges also. All that, how do we do? Industry, academia, corporate world, consulting world, government. So Dr. Rautrai, you start, then others, all three will add to that. So that will be our final offering to the audience. Then we'll go to the audience questions. Dr. Rautrai.
Thank you. I will just take the clue from Professor Vinayshal Gautam. I also agree the same point which I was about to say. Normally, when we are trying to make the students ready for the corporates, the main problem for the traditional institution is that we are having very good educator, a good academician, but are we preparing them to become a good facilitator, a good coach, a good mentor? Because every day they are interacting with the students. There are a lot of chances we are having where we can groom the students in the day-to-day life.
Okay.
Suppose a student is organizing a festival or organizing some programs. There, he or she can develop the leadership skill. He can also take the constructive feedback where he failed, how he succeeded, how he managed the crisis with limited resources. If sudden incident happened, how he managed that. Even some students play a vital role in managing the say crowd or strikes. They also discuss with the students. In that way, when they are entering into HR career, they are also developing how to negotiate with the trade union also, because they know how to handle the students' union as a maybe as a union leader, not from a destructive point of view, but for a constructive point of view. Many students I have seen, and they are excelling. Another thing which I found that when we are changing the curriculum drastically, we are not also upskilling the academician in that way to convert themselves from a proficient academician to an expert trainer. Because the trainer has to be created in the institute itself, so that the industry, when are coming to the campus, they said that yes, the basic is ready. And they are just going to brush the basic skill and they are getting industry ready. So we have to create a lot of trainers inside the institute, which can lessen the burden of the industry. Another thing which I will say that nowadays, many new type of jobs are coming up. For example, analytics. When we are entering into the field of analytics, it is also a kind of research work where collaborative research work has to be done both by academician and the industry personnel through a partnership model where student can be a group of students handling the data, analyzing the data, presenting the data to the corporate. And in that way, they are also developing their analytical skill. And what another thing is that in every day, we are facing a lot of resource crisis. So the students can just use these crises as an input to innovate. So think creatively, think differently, add value to the existing thing. That kind of potential, if everything we give ready to the students will not develop. What sir told that they can go to the villages and work and understand the lifestyle. And I think in our universities, we encourage the students to be the part of the NSS program, so that every department through their own expertise can contribute the villages which we have adopted to their own way, and can understand that who are their ultimate consumer or ultimate buyer, what is their need, and how they can meet those needs in an innovative way.
Very nice.
That is the way.
Wonderful preparation going on. Very good efforts. This is how we should groom our students so that they go there, they're corporate ready, they're industry ready. So we carry on the debate. Now let's change gears. Jay Kumar, Vikash, and Naresh, what is that interface you are recommending, or it's happening, and more that can happen? Industry, academia interface, maybe some other stakeholders. Let's change gears. Maybe Dr. Jay Kumar starts, then Vikash.
Yeah, sir, I talked about the EduTech initiative, like that many companies are doing, coming forward, like Coursera, Skillsoft. There are digital learning platforms available. Universities can get into that.
Okay.
Next is the traditional way of internship. In fact, we went one step ahead based on the request of, I think, some forum like CAI. They wanted internship for the faculties. Okay. We could not have a long internship for the faculties. We did a 2-day module for the faculty, around 40 to 50 engineering college professors. I called to my headquarters in Chennai. We did a 2-day training program, giving actually what all things happening took them to our lab, showed them all those things, including a site visit we organized. So
nice.
that is a contribution to the. Okay. Then we also do investment in some of the engineering colleges on innovation lab, R&D, like that. The companies can contribute. And we have also a concept called a campus ambassador. One of the senior veteran of the industry is kept as a campus ambassador for a group of colleges. So we arrange guest lectures, we call them for various programs, we conduct seminars, hackathons, all those things we do. Oh. And so different ways we try to collaborate with the institution. It is not, it's a win-win situation, sir. It is not that I am doing a favor to the institute. Okay. Unless I get a good student, I cannot be. So it's a win-win situation. So we both collaborate together and try to do what best can be done.
Dr. Jayakumar, wonderful points, particularly that campus ambassador, like that EduTech initiative. Do you want something from the academia for you? Do you want any help from their side? This is the help you are extending. Do you expect any help from them?
No, but they have to have a regular interface and try to bring this into their curriculum. They should
one is regular interface. Second is stitch it into the curriculum
and bring a difference in the methodologies. Bring in how application of engineering should be taught more than the pure. Today students are very smart to read the book and understand, but how the application, how can you bring in more of an internships, more of industry visits, bringing industry experts? That is where
very simply said, application of engineering. Teach them that, okay? Not engineering alone, okay? Dr. Vikash, anything around industry academia interface?
Yes, what Jayakumar is saying, is absolutely, is the point. Now all good institutions, including mine, we have moved toward, outcome-based education. And in OBE, in outcome-based education, every activity that a faculty member is doing in class must result in some outcome. So, today kids, they are not ready to listen to lectures from their parents. So can you expect them to listen to lectures from faculty members? No, it's not going to happen. We are living in the, old world era. It's not going to happen. The activities in the classroom has to be very interesting, very engaging. Outcome-based education is the solution to that in that direction. Okay. I would like to add, some more thing here.
Yeah, please.
I would like to add here, sir, that, we are following rubrics. For every activity, there is a rubric. There is no biasness by the faculty members in assessing the, kids. And in last 10 years, I would say, Rao, sir, I have seen this changing. Now, the industry, institution, academia, collaboration has gone to a different level altogether. Now, I can pick up the mobile phone. I can talk to anyone known through LinkedIn. I can request anyone. And I've not seen anyone declining to my request that they won't be available, for half an hour in the evening. I have what we are doing, we are identifying set of students. The majority of student is for mass recruitment, expecting a 3 lakh to 4 lakh kind of job package. But there is certain, elite kind of students which are ready to work, 18 hours a day, which are ready to, learn for 16 hours a day. And I have invited, people from IBM. I have invited people from, top-notch corporate, houses. They are taking lectures in the night from 6 in the evening to 8 in the night, or 7 in the evening to 10 in the night. And the students of that elite group, they are all attending those lectures. And, they crack 20 lakh rupees package, 25 lakh rupees package. So this learnability is very, very crucial. We need to identify the caliber, the potential, the aspirations of students. And we need to, divide them in two groups. For as far as corporate world is concerned, I'm so happy to share that there is no more a challenge in that direction. If you have the right networking skills as an academic leader, as a higher education leader, then industry is there to help. There is no challenge in that direction. I don't see the challenge which was there 10 years back. It's no more there. And thanks to leaders like Jayakumar sir, thanks to leaders like Gautam sir, thanks to a person like you, I think that challenge is more or less addressed.
No. You are a brand. I hope, I wish all directors work like you, that industry academy interface, when you can call people in the night and they come and teach your students. Naresh Garu.
Basically, I'm very impressed with what Dr. Vikas Singh has been mentioning, and I wish every institute in India does that. Unfortunately, that's not the scenario. I must admit here. So some of the leading institutes are doing, there's no doubt, and then that's the good crop of these students are coming from there. So what I would say is, I'm also a visiting faculty at Symbiosis in Pune actually. So they do wonderful things, basically not this rote learning in a classroom. So you work on case studies. So give case studies to the students, ask them to work in groups, come back, present the next day, let them slog the night out and then come and do it. That's how the corporates work. Then you have time limits to work on these case studies, come out with your recommendations and solutions to these problems. Then they've also introduced one good thing, something called shadowing. They send their students to actually go and work with these leaders, business leaders. So they will spend, I think they would virtually be sitting with the business leaders and observing what they are doing completely for a week or so. So they understand what is the pain this business leader is going through, what kind of a nuances you need to address, because I've seen some students, even from premier institutes, going to the corporate world and completely misaligned with the requirements. So they don't understand the economic, political, and cultural nuances involved in an organization, because it's not like a college. It's a competitive world out there, and your colleague may not be willing to share information with you. So these are some of the things I think the institute should actually be inculcating. I'll tell you about my own daughter. She was studying in one of the IIMs a few years ago. She got an internship in Coca-Cola. You know, Coca-Cola internship means others may not understand. So she came back one day home and she was so angry. I said, what happened? She said, they asked me to get into a beverages truck and go to a godforsaken village. What do they think of me? I'm supposed to work on strategy. I said, what strategy you will do after completing your MBA? This is where the marketplace is. India is in its villages. You'll have to go and work. If you want to have a marketing job, you need to go to the villages in a beverages truck. So these things are not actually sensitized to the students, because they wear a suit and a coat, and then they think they get into a boardroom and then advise board members when they come to the workplace. That's not a reality. They need to be sensitized to the reality. You need to actually work yourself up and then understand the nuances. This is what universities have to do.
What I
stop asking them to wear jackets and all in universities.
Okay, good. Looking at the watch, I'm just requesting to conclude. This is the last thing that we did is the industry academic interface. Then we'll go to the questions. I'm quickly summing up the question. The industry academic interface is the internship for students and teachers, underline teachers. The EduTech initiative like L&T has done. Incubation lab, innovation labs, campus ambassador, teach application of engineering, application of management. The guest lectures, and you said, no, I am recommending more online projects. Why only one summer intern? More online projects, more online guest lectures. Do more, no, it's easy. It's easy. Then shadowing what Naresh said, teachers should collaborate with industry. That is my recommendation. Only the placement coordinator collaborating doesn't work. Teachers have to collaborate. Similarly, from the corporate, only HR doing collaboration doesn't work. I want the line managers to collaborate with the education. That's my personal recommendation. And last one is, can we also go a little outside? If the education institutions are struggling to provide these additional competencies, can we collaborate with L&D companies? Maybe some of them will do as a corporate social responsibility, or may they charge, but charge less, because after all, they're doing it for the academia. Can think of this. This is one thought I've added. I'll stop here. Wonderful panel discussion we had. We defined what are the corporate needs, changing corporate needs, how academia is preparing, what are the edge-giving competencies, how can industry academia collaborate more that reduce gaps and prepare the fitment better and improve the transition management. With that, I'll stop and hand it over to our organizers to take the questions from the audience, because I have seen number of questions are waiting for us, more questions, more people. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rao sir. Thank you very much, all the panelists. This was a wonderful discussion. with a lot of exposure. Believe me, I've taken a lot of note of it because so many things even new we can add, and I will surely add in my college as well. Thank you, Naresh sir, for this two wonderful, websites which you have said. And you have also mentioned it in the chat box. If anyone has not noted it, then I would request you all to please note down those two, www.applymagicsauce.com, as well as practice and back test given by Naresh sir. Thank you very much, sir, for these two inputs from you very specifiedly. We have two questions from Dr. Banwat, as Professor Dr. D.K. Banwat, as well as two questions, as well as from Mr. Yashwant Chauhan. So the two questions are very similar, so making it into one question. And I would request Naresh sir to please answer this. The question goes like this: what key strategic initiatives can be jointly taken as an ecosystem to equip the next generation in the hybrid world or the new work from home initiative? So I would request Naresh sir to please answer this question, because I think it's very suiting him.
Yeah, I think
humor.
It's a good question.
Let me add some humor, Naresh Garu. Let me add some humor. Corporate, the industry, the academia should teach people to write simple English. Teach the students. Teach the students.
I think Dr. Banwat is a very senior person from the academia, and I'm very glad and privileged to provide my 2 cents as an response to this question. So this pandemic has revealed a lot of things, especially in our organization, a manufacturing organization which is producing all 3 businesses we are into are essential commodities. So whether there is a lockdown or no lockdown, we had to run all our 5 factories. We can't stop our factories. So this actually what revealed was people whom we thought are the top talents and all, they were actually scared, and most of them are not visible during this time. People who are street smart, I'm telling you, the solid citizens, as we call in our organizations, who are rated good and who turn out a good amount of days work. These were the COVID warriors we have seen. They were in the front line, taking the mantle, running these factories, and even attending to emergencies. So then we realized our way of actually defining talent has undergone a complete change during these COVID times. Because people should be really strong, they should be risk-taking. And we have seen some of the people whom we recognized as top talent were scared during this time. So this is something we need to change our talent management process in our organizations. How do we identify talent to adapt to these pandemic times or disruptive times, as I say? This is something which we noticed very clearly. And maybe you need to look at street smart students in your college. And I don't know how academia is going to help me. I'm really no idea, but this is something is a revelation for the industry during this period.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And the next question is something concerning academia. And I would request Dr. Vikas Singh, sir, and also Dr. Vinayshil, sir, jointly to answer this. The question is by Mr. Ayan, and he asks, how are our colleges primarily priming their students for a globally, culturally diverse workforce? I repeat, how are our colleges priming their students for a globally, culturally diverse workplace? So I would request Dr. Vikas Singh as well as Dr. Vinayshil Gautam, sir, to please throw light on this question.
You know, Ranjita, the answer which I am going to offer and the answer that Vinayshil sir will offer will be from 2 different contexts. I am representing a private academic, private state university. He would be representing, the thoughts of a senior, IIT professor. So as Padmalita, mentioned that the heterogeneity and homogeneity of students. What I would say here, that is, where I'm mentioning the desired job role and desired job location. Many of the students are not interested in their first job to go to overseas location. In my campus, only the hotel management institutions, they are working overseas. They are working in Dubai, Some management, financial, management students are working in Dubai, but they are not actually going to, those global villages, so-called global villages. We have London, we have Singapore, we have, they go there for, week-long international trip. But the job location is also very important, especially for girl students, especially for those young kids which are having very protected environment. We need to ask them, are you interested in going to different state? For that matter, leave aside going to a different country altogether. So my point here is that the solution should be individual career plan, that expectations, aspirations of a student are to be addressed. Somebody who is ready to slog for 16 hours a day, we should have those kind of companies, those kind of job roles, those kind of opportunities. And for the students who are into more protected environment, they want a job close to home, less pay is okay with them. Their training would be in a different direction. That's my. But for students, those who are looking for global opportunities, yes, every university is working in that direction, and we are providing global opportunities also. But those students need to slog also from their own side and learn one foreign language, one international language, those international etiquettes, cross-cultural management. So many things are to be fed in, but not to every student, not to each student of the university. Those selected few, those who are interested in that kind of first job, this is required. We are talking of first job right now. Campus to corporate means the first job.
First job. Yes. Thank you, sir. Dr. Vinayshil, sir, would you like to please add on?
Yes, Vikas has prepared a rich ground, making it easier and complicated at the same time simultaneously for me to build upon it. I will not repeat what he has so competently elaborated, but add to it 3 points of view. Every Indian, by definition, lives in many centuries. How we were educated when we were children, the values which we have when we get married, the kind of values we enter when we enter a place of work, and what we encounter on the streets and in urban centers are all different centuries collapsed together in one. So an Indian does not need orientation in living in multiple capsules at the same time. He is doing it every single day. It is his ability to understand this varied experience which is important. My second submission is, let's not confuse global experience and requirements with America, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, France. The world is bigger than that. If you are in the Madrid airport, you don't hear of New York and London. You hear of Buenos Aires and Venezuela and the Spanish-speaking world. The Indian mind for a lot of people has got straight-jacketed into confusing English-speaking experience with global experience. It is not that at all. And whether you like the Chinese or not, whether you like the Israelis or not, these are two cultural symbols parading the world today who have said there are alternate ways of being successful other than through English and English-speaking people. So if you are open to diversity and open to absorb it, that is the second component of my remark. My third component is you cannot stop growing. Many people ask me, and when did you retire? My answer is simple. Which retirement? Because I have retired at least 5 times and I'm still at the crease. When you change from one career to another, you haven't retired. You have grown into a new possibility. So to sum up, I think the growing possibilities gives you the diversity to be different and constant at the same time. And that is the heart of keeping at it and enjoying it above all. That's what I would like to say for the moment. If you enjoy your growth, you are going to be a growing person. If you find it a burden, then there'll be a lot of scope to crib, and that I don't think helps anyone.
Wonderful delivery. Thank you so much, sir. Wonderful insights from both of you. I would now request Mr. Prerak Desai. He has been keeping his hands up for such a long time. Sir, can you kindly unmute yourself and please ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Ranjita. See, I don't have any question. I just want to add. To what has been told by the elite panelist. See, the crux of the issue is what Dr. Jayakumar said in two simple words is applied knowledge. So ultimately, it boils down to that's what Mr. Gautam also said. It's basically about applied knowledge. How do we apply the knowledge? And my humble request to all the academicians here, Dr. Vikas Singh, Madam Rautere, and Madam Banerjee, aapko bhi, since you are also from CKVM Institute, let us focus more on learning rather than information assimilation. When students come for summer training, they come for internship, but the focus for the students is information assimilation. I'm telling you, in ONGC, I had mentored more than around 600 students, but their focus is only on learning what is happening, HR, what are the subsystems of HR. They prepare report, and now you got wonderful tools for making presentation in the report. So ultimately, the learning is a big zero. They ultimately end up preparing a document. Their concept is traveling in a train. First compartment, knowing about the company. Second compartment, about what is HR. Third is about estate. Fourth is about training. So they prepare report on what actually is going on, but the learning is zero. So I think the focus should be more, my humble request once again to all the three academicians, should be more on learning. After the end of the internship, they should be able to tell what they have actually learned, what they have actually applied knowledge. Like what Madam Rautere said, industry relations, they don't know how to handle strike. If the strike notice comes, they don't know how to take care of it. In HR, they don't know how to handle various assignments. So in ONGC, I always focus on project-based summer training, internship. I give them project, I give them court cases. They study these court cases and come up with your suggestions. So my focus, my humble request to all the academicians to be, industry-based learning-based summer training. Second is, the students should be willing to learn from the practicing executives who are already in the industry. Because when I go from industry, I know I am, I have the, my collar up. मैं तो भाई अभी fresh होके आया हूँ, ये लोग क्या जानते हैं? I am from important school like ITM, MET. I am from IIT, IIM. So ये लोग क्या जानते हैं? I know better than them. So on the part of the students, they should be able to willing to learn from the seniors, and also need to industry should also be the senior should also be willing to share the knowledge with the new lot. Mr. Gautam talked about public sector. Sir, what you told, I have actually faced in ONGC when I joined afresh in 1989 as GT. The first concept, the first dialogue I heard was, "ये नए छोकरे आए हमको सिखाने के लिए आए हैं, ये क्या हमको सिखाएंगे?" So that is how I started my career in ONGC. So that resentment between the students, the fresh joining and the seniors should be broken at the very first stage.
Absolutely. Agreed, Prerak sir, absolutely. And thank you very much for your inputs. And I believe that this is the main purpose for which we are having this panel discussion today. Because it's like corporate, it has to be an industry interface. It has to be a joining hands of corporate as well as efforts from academia. Then only this bridging of the gap is possible. So there lies the main theme and main focus of keeping this panel discussion. Thank you very much for the input, sir. And because of time constraints, hereby we take the last question. This is from Mr. Ayan again. And this question, I would request Madam Padmalita to please answer this. Is a college okay? The question goes, is a college okay with segmenting students based on psychographic parameters for best results? Is a college okay with segmenting students based on psychographic parameters for best results? Over to you, Padmalita, madam. Yeah, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
I believe in segmenting the students, because unless and until we segment the students, we cannot find where is the problem. Because there are some students, they basically don't know why they are learning. Some students may be knowing why they are learning, they don't know how to learn. Some students may be knowing that how to learn, from where to learn. So these type of issues arises. So unless and until we segment the students, we cannot make a learning path for them so that they can learn through their own way and not just rely on the curriculum, because curriculum cannot be static. It has to be dynamic. So nowadays what we are doing, we are adding, keeping in view the new education policy, we are adding some part of the curriculum as dynamic. Students can choose the different MOOC courses so that they can customize their requirement. In addition to their basics, they can add some specific skill component and they can learn it from very big, better institutes, from different types of agencies. And that's why they can add something. And it has really helped the students. It has really helped the students in our case also, because we are able to give the students best. And the students who are, say, not able to learn, we can give them more hand holding. So the students who are willing to learn, we them some additional projects. I remember some of my students, besides their usual summer training project, they have done project in, say, Odisha Corporate Foundation, and the girl student who has done this one because he wanted to become an entrepreneur and wanted to work in such kind of organization, and she got selected in Flipkart as a team leader because he has that kind of eager to learn more. So you have to segment the students, and so that you can mentor them that how they can reach their career goal very faster. That is my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. And being from the faculty fraternity, I wish, and I think we all are in the same boat, that we are seeing a lot of keeping a lot of eye on the national education policy, and believe that some good positive changes will also come by. With this, we complete the question answer round. Thank you very much, the dignitary panelists, and GP Rao sir, Dr. Vinay Sheel sir, for your wonderful inputs and answering so many varied questions, as well as so many inputs which you have given. I'm sure the ones who are here today, gathered today evening, many of us will be implementing and actually practically taking up a lot of inputs from this today's session. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Nataraj Ray sir.
Dr. Ranjita, Dr. Nataraj Ray has sent a message that he is still traveling from back from office. So he has authorized our regional vice president East, Dr. Jibdesh Ras, to do the concluding remarks.
Concluding remarks.
Please.
Before that, I should congratulate ISTD for a wonderful initiative. It's building the future. It's a wonderful initiative. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Madam, can I make a point, please? Madam, can I make a point?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the dilemma is that many MBA students have not even visited their own institute from where they are graduating. So my point of asking the alignment of working from home and getting education at home, what is the alignment that is being done, both in terms of academia, because when we go for the MBA accreditations, it becomes so difficult that students have not even seen their own institution. So I don't know whether the panel has some answers to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, would somebody from the panel would like to answer?
Sir, in our case, our institute, we have already made all our classes physical, and the new students have already joined in the physical mode, and keeping in the Corona guideline, we have made all the provisions, and they are now working offline after being online.
Bandit sir, I would like to add, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure.
Bandit sir, number one, we must congratulate all 25 lakh higher education teachers. Within 10 days, all institutions, all universities across the country, they switched from,
online
physical classes to online. And, like all the students were very, very acquainted with, those mobile and digital and all those, video platforms. Faculty members were not. But within 10 days, all those faculty members, came out as heroes and heroines, while taking those lectures. Now, what we have done, Benwit sir, because your point is very, very crucial, especially for 2-year-long program or 1.5-year-long program. Yes, there has been a big challenge. So what we have done, sir, we have, changed the assessment also. Like there are, again, as I mentioned, knowledge, skill, behavior, and attitude. We have tried to bring in certain set of activities for all the 4 parameters, that we are ensuring the imparting of right kind of knowledge. We are trying to, have those digital experiences using simulators and those things to ensure that learning is also taking place, skill learning, creating some, some events, some programs where they are working as a peer group. They are trying to compete with each other. So we have tried to inbuild all this, all that into our teaching learning process over the last 2 years. But yes, I'm in agreement with you, sir. The kind of learning that could have taken place maybe by being physically present in those lectures and classrooms is not to that extent. But to take care of that part, sir, we have also changed the assessment process. The revised assessment process that we are using, that assessment is also on the basis of the kind of activities that we have done. And that is why I'm saying we have designed various rubrics. For every activity, there is a rubric. And on the basis of that rubric, that two-way table, we are trying to assess and evaluate the students. But yes, teachers have put in extra efforts. Higher education leaders, directors, vice chancellors have put in extra efforts. But we have tried to ensure that the teaching learning process continues without much, hindrance or challenge. This is my submission, Benwit sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even I would like to add that yes, attendance plays also a great role, but we have ensured it in the online and offline also. And from the last week, I think all the colleges have started up with full offline classes. And yes, a major risk is about with all the faculties and staff of colleges and all, because it's a huge crowd. But still then, this is how it is. Okay, with this, we come to the end of the question. Thank you very much, sir. With this, we come to the end of the question answer round. Because of time constraint, we need to now stop it here. And I would request our RVP sir to please come forward for the concluding and closing remarks for the day.
Dr. Jibidesh Rath, please.
Thank you, Daniel ji, our NVP. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and very nice. After a long time, we witnessed a very, very, electrifying webinar, and it's the beginning. And I hope, and our NVP and NP board told that there will be a series of webinars. But one thing, my quick observation, I was watching and some of the speakers are known to me personally, like GP. We work together in Steel Authority. One thing was missing or would have been added in this webinar was NEP 2020. Okay, some universities have already started, especially private universities. They have gone ahead. So I'm telling that NEP 2020 is the benchmark where the professional bodies also associated when the NEP 2020 National Education Policy was formulated. So my submission, only one submission is, apart from talking about industry and academics, it's professional bodies. This is one of the examples what ISTD is doing. Professional bodies also, which is full of experience, everything, practical knowledge. So they can be associated in policy making level, so that when we make some policy change at macro level and also at the micro level, so it has to be very down to earth. With this, because I am very happy that Mr. Daniel gave I'm a wild card entry like the tennis, no? I was just watching very usefully. Last but not the least, personally, I visit a lot of university. First day I have gone to ASBM, that is the Asian School of Business Management, university status they got. I visited their campus in Bhubaneswar. I told them that Vishwajit Patnaik, I told them that my experience in United States and Europe, when I visited a couple of universities, academia, institute interface, one point was very remarkable, which I shared with others. When they call industry, like Johnson & Johnson is coming to Carlson School of Management, Minneapolis, they create an ambience of the industry in the campus. some question came in chat box, I told that, so that people have a direct knowledge about what Johnson & Johnson is doing. Like their video, like other things, they create an ambient, their own products they put. So that is the curriculum, that is the pedagogy method. So a long way to go. Thank you very much. A long way to go in India, because practical thing at ground level, as Madam told that Mr. Dautra at Baleshwar FM University I have visited. So ground level is different, and what is happening, we are talking is a bit different, but we must think high. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jivitesh sir. That's really great of you to have the concluding remarks and closing remarks from you. Thank you so much. I would now request Kurian Daniel sir, National Vice President, to please make the announcements further. And I am my heartiest congratulations and good wishes to all the 100 participants who are there over this last 2 hours continually. And we had reached the highest of around 210 participants today evening because of the grand panelists we have had tonight. And till now, like towards the end of 2 hours, we have almost 100 participants. So my heartfelt thanks to all of you for that. And I would now request Kurian Daniel sir to please make the announcements and call it a day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranjita. Next series will be on 19th November. All the details will be given to all of you, because as we all are heard and discussed with various panelists that this has to be discussed in very detail. And especially, as you know, the industries are in very different verticals. So we may not be able to cover all the verticals, but at least in 4 series, we will cover at least 8 different types of industries. Also, some engineering colleges also will be representing us. I would like to make heartfelt thanks to all the faculties, especially our dignitary Dr. Vinashil Gautam and Dr. G.P. Rao, handling it very, very clearly and very interestingly. And all our faculties, Dr. C. Jayagumar, Mr. Naresh Penisetti, Dr. Vikas Singh, Dr. Patmalida, and also all the support from NHQ with our Gurvinder and all the team supports. And special thanks to our Dr. Nataraj Ray and all the OB members for allowing me to do this one. So let us work together for the betterment of ISTD. Thank you. Good night to all.